Thank you, Livia. Appreciate the introduction. As Livia said, our SoC partners in Purple and members are really the building blocks from the ground up of where we want to go. So I look forward to moderating this and having this discussion with our SoC partners. And hopefully we gain some good insights for service providers and others on where we plan to take this. So without further ado, let me start inviting them up to the stage. So first off, Bill Reysen with Cortina. Next, we have Dr. Len Dauphinee with MaxLinear. Next, we have James Chen with MediaTek. And last but not least, we have Wayne Daniels with Qualcomm. All right, great. So, on behalf of the Purple Foundation Board of Directors and the Purple membership community, I want to thank you for participating in the Purple SoC member panel discussion today. As I said, you're a very important part of the ecosystem to build this from the ground up. So we all collectively appreciate your participation and your hard work to make this successful. So thank you. So with that, let's start off with introductions, introducing yourself. So why don't you introduce a little bit about yourself, your company, and then why Purple? Why are you here? Why are you supporting the foundation as we see you doing today? Bill?
Hello, thank you, Paul. Yeah, my name is Bill Reysen. I am Director of Marketing at Cortina Access. We are an IC provider, SoC provider that have been in the CPE business for quite a number of years. And we are here and involved in Purple because although you generally hear about all the benefits that Purple will provide the operators in the future, there are actually also some benefits to the SoC vendors if enough of the market consolidates and adopts the same platform. So we're hoping to take advantage of that.
Great. Thank you, Bill. Len?
Everyone, you guys all know me already, but that's my day job is Purple President. My afternoon job is CTO of technology at MaxLinear. We've been involved in Purple really at the very beginning. We took over largely from Intel. Intel had really started a lot of this initiative. Intel actually delivered the SON controller for Purple Mesh, so they were involved in a big way. MaxLinear really aligned to that, and they wanted to continue the great work that Intel had done with their connected home team. So we jumped in with both feet. We got really involved. Not only did I get involved at the level of president, but Dave, as you saw, is involved in the technical steering committee. We're involved in all of the work groups. I pulled Livy in because I thought she'd be a great asset to the marketing team, and we're really all in on Purple, and we think it's the way forward for MaxLinear. We've also started moving our platforms so that Purple has become our main software platform. So we had internally another platform called UGW, Universal Gateway, which was our reference platform. But now we've moved that to Purple. So all the hard work that we're doing and we're putting in there, we're hoping that goes right to the operators to take advantage of.
Great. Thank you, Len. James?
Yeah, hello, everybody. My name is James Chen. I'm the Vice President of Product Technology Marketing at MediaTek. For those of you who have not heard about us, MediaTek is the world's 4th largest fabless semiconductor company. We've got about 21,000 people across 50 different sites worldwide. Now, that's a little bit about the company. I have to say, MediaTek's traditional roots are firmly rooted in consumer devices. So if you ever picked up a phone, watched TV, use a mobile, use a Wi-Fi router, such and such, this is all of our devices. But about 5 years ago, the company pivoted to more non-consumer devices, and this includes obviously products in this realm, all of us in this room, the operator realm, and that is why we joined Purple. To do business, obviously, in this segment, Purple is not only a necessity, it's table stakes. We are wholeheartedly invested in Purple, and looking very much forward to having the discussion today.
Great. Thank you, James. Wayne?
Hi, I'm Wayne Daniel. It's on? Yeah.
Sound good.
Wayne Daniel with Qualcomm. Great to see a packed audience here. Great to see some faces from many years ago in Broadband Forum and other industry activities. As you may know, Qualcomm has its footprint in a few different areas, obviously in mobile with 5G, Wi-Fi with consumer devices, IoT with many things from video cameras to VR, AR devices, and in other markets, and especially, you know, in the networking area, whether it be enterprise, retail, or operator, you know, we've had quite a bit of success in growing the market and being a significant player. We've been a longtime supporter of open source. Our open source drivers have been out there for 10 years or more, and a longtime member of Purple, and we really embrace open source and find it, you know, very helpful for us, so that we leverage the work of the community, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So great to see all this support. Qualcomm embraces open source, and glad to be a member and represent the company on the board of directors.
Great. Thank you, Wayne. All right, so we're going to jump in here. So a lot of folks know that the SoC providers are a very basic building block of the ecosystem and something that's very important. But what most folks don't know is the why. Why are they here? Why are they supporting this? And, you know, what do we want to get out of this for the service providers? So we're going to dig into that a little bit here. So first, I'm going to go around and ask a question so you all get an opportunity to answer it. What message would you like to communicate to service providers to define your commitment to Purple, and in turn, how you plan to partner with service providers to realize their Purple goals? So Bill, why don't we start with you?
So while we are generally viewed as hardware companies, you might not be surprised to know that we do have as many software developers employed as we have hardware designers. It's quite a bit of effort to support various operators with different models. We currently do everything from providing full turnkey software to operators who run it on platforms for multiple people, to providing customers with register specs who ultimately learn our chips as well as we do. So it creates a lot, and everything in between, so it creates a lot of challenges and a lot of extra work in how we support these opportunities. So I think the advantage and the opportunity for something like Purple is if enough operators adopt it, then it could actually limit or reduce the number of different support models we have. And that's why we could also share in the benefits that the carriers and the rest of the market are going to share, and the ecosystem. So,
Great. Thank you. Len?
Yeah, similar to what Bill was saying, I think just in the last couple of years, the largest team we have now in engineering is software. So it is a dominant cost for us in terms of the development cost. I already talked about the level of engagement we have in Purple, but this year we also took it to another level where we developed a reference platform. So we developed a PON gateway reference platform so that the developers and the community can start working on these developments, and we will have you know, a Wi-Fi 6 platform this year, a Wi-Fi 7 platform next year, and all that work can go directly to the product, because you know, what Bruno was talking about is an acceleration, and you can't accelerate if you're spending all your time, you know, in neutral or going sideways trying to bring up new platforms. So we're really hoping that the work that we're putting in and all the low-level API porting and development and access to different capabilities will give the operators the ability to take not just their resources in finances, but also in time, and spend that time to accelerate the customer experience and really try to grow that side of it and develop it.
Great. Thank you, Len. James?
Thank you. So MediaTek Group today, we support Purple low-level APIs on 5 completely different platforms. And those are GPON gateway, 10G-PON gateway, 5G CPEs, Ethernet gateway, and a mesh or extender, depending on what side of the Atlantic you're from. If you factor in different flavors of Wi-Fi, there's a multiplier about 2 in there. And I think very simply, the numbers kind of speak for itself. And there will be more platforms going forward that we will also put purpleware on. So.
Great. Thank you, James. Wayne?
Yeah, so as you may have already seen, we are one of the carrier-grade platforms being demonstrated. You can see those at WNC for the new Wi-Fi 7 platform, for Ethernet, for 5G, for PON, and other references. It's great to have that in the ecosystem to make it available to the community for development using the open source drivers. And you know, the work that we do on open source really has a multiplying effect. And for the operators themselves, we've seen cases where, you know, an operator or a team, a contract team, has taken those open source drivers and done things, you know, independently, completely on their own, which enables us to you know, multiply the amount of projects that we can support in the ecosystem to leverage those open source drivers to develop and innovate new features, new implementations, and it's great to support the community and specifically the operator gateways with these reference platforms going forward.
Great. Thank you, Wayne. You touched on the low-level API implementation a little bit there. Now we're going to go into more of a direct question on implementation. So as you know, a fundamental requirement to supporting Purple service providers is the implementation of the low-level API, and in turn porting Purple OS on the chipset. Provide some insights on your low-level API and your Purple OS support progress. How are you progressing through it? So, Bill?
Sure. Yeah, the advantage for us for low-level API is it's very similar to the hardware standards, the box-to-box standards and chip-to-chip standards that we rely very heavily on. Even though the bar is a little bit lower for software, it's easier to update, things like that. It still helps us quite a bit for a standardized low-level API, relatively stable, not changing very often. I'm looking at Wouter while answering. But yes, as the IC and software developers, being able to standardize on a standard interface and having both the people below it and above it honor it without adding a lot of customization or options and things like that is all beneficial to the market.
Great. Thank you. Len?
Yeah, the combination of the low-level API just allows us to reduce the amount of effort. Right now, we have to support every customer with a different interface, so that just puts a significant load in. And what Dave Barr alluded to earlier, right? The innovation is really in the lower layers and the upper layers. So, you know, having that standardized middleware so that we can just plug it in and take advantage of it will really help us to, you know, because we have limited time and resources as well, and that'll allow us to take that extra time and resources and put that into innovation on the bottom.
Great. Thank you. James?
Yeah, I think we have and are currently supporting the low-level APIs across, you know, those various platforms I just mentioned. So that's what we're doing now or what we have done in the past. I think for us, the question is more how do we look forward? We heard a lot about, you know, regardless it was the small startups doing different applications or, you know, Bruno's talk about totally integrated ecosystem. The bottom line is how do we enable a new group of services so that operators can obviously have a new revenue stream? Because, you know, there are macroeconomic conditions going on. And I think it's with that focus that we look forward and look forward to not only the new technology that we will want to support as we implement new hardware offload circuitry, blocks, engines into our chipsets going forward, but we also look forward into working with the Purple community on how to enable new class of low-level APIs for those additional services. And hopefully we can talk a little bit more about that today.
Great. Thank you, James. Wayne?
Yeah, so obviously we also support the low-level API. It's been a great, building block to build upon, to leverage. It's something that we've seen our partners, start from and do things that, really is independent, allows them to innovate, allows them to branch off and do new things. I think it was great to hear some of our system integrators introduce themselves to some of our team members and say, yeah, we already use your system. We've been using it for years. We just use the open source drivers and we've been developing apps on top of that. So it's great to see that happening in the past and going forward in the future. And while the low-level API is a snapshot of current standardized features, we recognize that for new features, for new standards, it has to expand, and we want to roll those new features into future versions of the LLAPI to build into the future products.
Great, thank you, Wayne. And it is great to hear that, all the Purple innovation, we know that it's very beneficial for service providers, but also you're seeing the benefit as a SoC provider as well. So it's a reciprocal ecosystem, so that is great to hear. So thank you. So next up here, so how do you see Purple expanding beyond the operator community into maybe retail, IoT, enterprise, et cetera? So where do you think you see Purple going, from today and beyond? So Bill?
Those are really not my markets, so I don't have a lot of comments on it. My only thought is that it might motivate some type of a lighter version, just given that the CPUs will not be as strong and things like that. So it may not be able to have quite as much power as the full carrier version of Purple.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Len?
Yeah, I think there's already some, some companies also do both, right? Some companies are involved in ISPs and also do retail. I think to Bill's point, I think it'll open up the ideas that we have to be able to scale that to lighter weight versions. Not just for some of the gateway and extender products, but as we move into Purple Matter and things like that, I think this whole thing will just expand because what I believe the service providers also want is they want a larger ecosystem, not just a larger ecosystem for apps and capabilities and services, but they also want a larger ecosystem of devices, and that's ultimately what they're looking for. This is just the beginning where we have a small number of platforms, but really we want to get to is a much larger ecosystem of other types of devices, starting to get to IoT and other things so that the operators have a very large ecosystem to choose from.
Great, thank you, Len. James?
We wholeheartedly support it. MediaTek has new platform solutions for IoT, industrial IoT, retail, enterprise, automotive, and the list can go on. And with our current work on the operator side, we can extend that very easily onto those additional platforms with really a minimal amount of effort. But that being said, of course, there's still a lot of work to be done on the operator side. But if that becomes initiative, we have the hardware, we have the SoCs. By the way, SoC is a little. We have the SoCs. And so we're ready and to support. So,
Wayne?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's great that Purple builds upon something like OpenWRT and doesn't reinvent the wheel. OpenWRT is being, basically the de facto network operating system on many products across retail, enterprise, and of course operator. And it's good to build on that foundation. I think it allows Purple to expand into those areas. And some of the same things that matter to an operator, security, applications, value add, also matter to enterprise and retail spaces also. So I think that the work that's being done in Purple is definitely leverageable in other markets and ecosystems.
Great, thank you, Wayne. So we're going to look at maybe something that isn't defined and how you handle it as a SoC provider. So if a value-added service is supported in the hardware but not in Purple OS, how do you plan to support the functionality within the Purple ecosystem? Bill?
Yeah, I actually think the customization could be a negative and could actually hurt the effort in general. So my recommendation would be that we try to avoid the customization and somehow get it into the API and get it defined as a standard or pseudo-standard.
Yeah, that's great advice. So your strategy is going to be anything like that, bring it forward to the foundation and have it built in as a standard requirement of the ecosystem?
Yeah. To try and avoid having too much customization, right? Because that kind of dilutes the effort.
Great, thank you, Bill. Len?
It's a question that comes up, when we talk to new service providers. In fact, I was just talking to a new service provider last week, and that's not a member of Purple, and it was one of the questions that came up because they feel that they have, they want to be able to take advantage of the features now. Maybe my opinion is a bit in contrast with Bill. I don't think service providers want to wait for those new features. And they do want commonality. I mean, they want to be able to deploy boxes, and they want to be able to deploy the same box by different vendors and not have customers notice. But at the same time, if there are secret sauce capabilities and unique hardware capabilities, they may not want to wait for those. So, and the way we talked about that was you can still enable those features, and we can support it through our reference designs. It's just that you can't upstream it back into Purple. So, we have Purple, and just think of Purple as the base layer with all of the base capabilities that we've already defined between all the SoC vendors. And if the service provider is worried about being able to use special features of a certain SoC, they can go ahead and add that capability in. It's just that they're not going to be able to upstream that Purple OS back into Purple because we don't want to fragment the base.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Len. James?
Yeah, I agree with Leonard. I mean, I think we need to have a balance between what we have and what we're going to have. But I think, I come back, the bottom line is, the service providers, the operators, however you want to characterize this industry, we need to enable new services, meaningful services, those that, have a B in front of them, right? Billions of revenue. And I think, simply put, without going through a lot of detail, I think at MediaTek, our vision is we're investing very heavily in enabling edge generative AI inside the gateway. And we think it's going to take some time. We think that is a viable technology upon which these new services can come. And it's not that science fiction, because we will be building these new hardware blocks when we launch our new platform on the handset side. There are people talking about the smartphone not becoming a smartphone, but a smart virtual assistant. And the only way you can do that is by putting edge generative AI capability. So we have the ability in the not so distant future to literally have a virtual assistant living inside your gateway that can not only offer new services, but give you a better experience, whether it's troubleshooting your network, better quality of service. I heard a lot of people talk about that, more security, parental control. We are a big believer in this technology. Not just the buzzword. And we look forward to, if people agree with us, of course we'll have to agree, we look forward to working on this aspect, and of course extending the LL APIs going forward.
Great. Thank you, James. Wayne?
Yeah, so I remember saying the only thing constant in high tech is change. So technology is never going to be still. It's important to build on what we have now, but to allow for extensions. And just like the Broadband Forum, data models allow vendor extensions for new things. You have to be able to build upon it. Product cycles may be, different starting points. And so you may be at the beginning, incorporate the latest and greatest. You may be at the end where you're building on a standard, but there are things that have changed since then, whether it's a new Wi-Fi standard or 4G to 5G, et cetera. Depending on the point in time, there's going to be change that moves along. So I think it's important that Purple builds on the LL API, but also allows it to be extended for new capabilities that come along over time and those things will probably continue to come over time. We have to be flexible, but we also need to incorporate those things back into a new version so that we're continually up to date and leveraging the largest common set possible.
Great, thank you. Sounds like you all agree, you know, timing dependent, that this is something that can be overcome, whether it's putting it right into the purple requirements up front or developing and maybe looking at it later depending on the customer requirements. So I know the unique features, everyone has kind of their own special sauce, as you said, so it's important that we understand how those things will be supported as we move forward. All right, great. Another question here. So what's your thoughts on staying aligned with Purple OS and OpenWRT as version upgrades are required? And how do Linux upgrades play a role in this? We know they can be kind of intensive to go through those upgrade processes. So what's your thought on making sure that you stay up with Purple OS and where it's going and implement those upgrades?
So I think it's important what Purple has done so far is specified specific versions of OpenWRT to be aligned with specific versions of Purple. I think that's good. I think it should stay that way. Even given that, there are still people that are trying to move to the top of the tree and the development versions. We actually discourage that. We think people should stay with the versions that are being spec'd in. That being said, you know, Purple will migrate, and the SoC vendors need to be ready to migrate as fast as Purple does, which we generally do. We are generally consider ourselves OS independent. We don't have a problem with customers running different versions of Linux and different versions of OpenWRT compared to what we provide. So I think that all works, but I really think Purple should not try to let it get too diverse and stay focused the way I believe they have been so far.
Great, thank you. Len?
Yeah, I mean, that's been the goal, is to minimize, you know, we don't want to have any fragmentation in terms of the version control. And but at the same time, I think, you know, OpenWRT is where it all started, right? That was the original, you know, hackers that came in and started giving new features to retail platforms. So I think it's important for us to realign with OpenWRT because it's a large community. And really, you know, we want to have this encourage this development, and I think, you know, we have to add the carrier grade enhancements and capabilities. But if we ignore OpenWRT, then we're ignoring a large community base that can help, you know, continue that development and bring that innovation. So I think we have to find a balance.
Great, thank you. James?
Yeah, I mean, I think as an SoC provider, we will support and have supported not just Purple, but we will continue to support OpenWRT. I think MediaTek has a rich history of upstreaming a lot of our stuff on OpenWRT. But there are, in addition to these two, there are other open source frameworks that I won't mention them here, but that some of the major operators have equal ambitions, and we need to support that too. So for us, it's a multi-dimensional kind of problem. So you have many flavors of open source frameworks that we have and will support. And on the other axis dimension is different chipsets and platforms. And then you just threw in the third one, which is now you have different versions. But hey, man, just bring it on.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. I like the enthusiasm. Wayne?
Yeah, I think it's in an ideal world, everything would be in lockstep and aligned, but we live in a real world. So we have to deal with the different transitions. I think it is important that Purple coordinates as closely as possible with OpenWRT, and we try to get things in lockstep. Obviously, we want to leverage it. We don't want to diverge. We don't want to create, you know, a new wheel. So it's a good goal to have, but different products will be on different product cycles. So over time, you have some products introduced at a certain time that may be on a different kernel version. I think the importance is to understand that, plan for it, be flexible, but also have a concerted effort to try to stay aligned and leverage the work that's being done by OpenWRT in the bigger ecosystem that it supports.
Great, thank you, Wayne. And thank you everyone for participating today. Your insights are very important into where we are and where we're going, so we appreciate it. We're going to give the audience a chance to ask a couple questions, and then we'll finish up. So with that, does anyone have any questions they would like to ask the panel? Here.
Test? Yeah, microphone works. Just a bit of a comment, James. So the low-level API applies to all the Linux-based router stacks. So what everything that's done on the Purple side is equally as valuable on RDK. In the latest release of RDKB, that is of this quarter, only from a wireless perspective, only the Purple low-level API is supported anymore, and there is no alternative anymore. So it's what you're doing here is not just for one operator community or not for one stack, it's for everyone.
I think that was a statement, so that's great. Keep doing that, baby.
Yeah.
The easiest question you've had all day. Great. Any other questions? Anyone have any insights, questions of how the SoC operators are planning to align and stay aligned as we move forward? I think you answered everyone's questions. I will leave it with one question then, just kind of an interesting question. So how do you see collaboration between Purple SoC members within the foundation? Do you see a lot of collaboration? Do you see all go in different directions? Kind of what do you see from that perspective? Anyone who wants to answer it?
I'll give it a shot. So, we compete. I mean, the thing that's interesting about this is that we are competitors. We all competing for business, but we do this in other standards as well. It's our standards team is involved in Wi-Fi standards and PON standards. So there's a lot of give and take, right? And that we all know that we have to have a standard that we have to interoperate at. But we're also trying to build the best solutions. I think it's just business as normal. It's just the usual practice that we go through. But I think the service providers really backing Purple is important because that's really leveling the playing field. And they're bringing in the requirements. I think. My ask, I ask this every year, but my ask for the service providers is to bring requirements earlier because it's not just for the Purple development, it's also, for silicon providers to get, it takes time for them to get ahead of these requirements. And so, work with us on those requirements and the SoC vendors will work together to come up with the standards for how to interoperate and compete at the same time.
Great.
I agree. Competition is here to stay, and even operators are competitors here. So I think in the end, we don't want dozens of different operating systems and stacks to support. It's in our best interest. It's easier for us to support, the fewest set, and if it's Purple and one or two others, that's better than dozens.
Right, absolutely. So thank you for the insights on that. I just thought it was important to point out we are all moving in the same direction. So there is, that call it collaboration of the greater good of the service providers. So we appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. And that's it for today. So thank you.